Welcome to Boring History for Sleep. Before we begin our journey into the distant past, take a moment to settle into your surroundings. Adjust your pillows, pull the blankets close, and allow the weight of your body to sink fully into the mattress. Let the tension in your shoulders dissolve, and feel the rhythm of your breath become slow, steady, and deep. Tonight, we are leaving the frantic pace of the modern world behind. We are traveling back centuries, to a time when the world moved at the speed of a walking horse, and the steady ticking of a mechanical clock was yet to be heard. We are entering the medieval world, a place of deep shadows, flickering candlelight, and enduring stone. Here, the seasons and the sun dictate the flow of life, and there is a quiet, repetitive beauty in the simplest of tasks. As I speak, imagine the sounds of the modern day fading away, replaced by the soft rustle of wool, the scent of wood smoke, and the distant tolling of a bronze bell. We are safe, we are still, and we are ready to wander through the corridors of history. Imagine yourself standing in the center of a stone cloister at the heart of a great medieval abbey. It is 2 o'clock in the morning, the hour of vigils. The world outside these walls is draped in an absolute velvet darkness, broken only by the cold, distant stars. The air is crisp and carries the faint, sharp scent of damp earth and old stone. You hear the first bell the signum. Its tone is low and resonant, vibrating through the floorboards of the dormitory where the monks sleep in a single, long row. There is no haste here. You rise from your pallet, the rough wool of your habit heavy against your skin. Your feet find the familiar, cold, smooth surface of the stone floor. In the darkness, the only sound is the soft, rhythmic shuffling of sandals as the brothers move toward the abbey church. Inside the church, the only light comes from a few guttering beeswax candles. Their flames dance, casting long, swaying shadows against the soaring Romanesque arches. You take your place in the wooden choir stalls, the oak smoothed by centuries of use. The service begins not with a shout, but with a low, communal chant. The Gregorian tones rise and fall like a slow tide. You feel the vibration of the music in your chest, a steady, hypnotic drone that seems to hold the very building together. There is a profound comfort in this repetition. These same words have been spoken in this same spot every night for hundreds of years. As the first hint of grey light touches the high windows, the Office of Lords begins. The world is waking up, but the abbey remains a sanctuary of deliberate pace. After the morning prayers, there is the great silence. No words are spoken. You move to the gardens. Imagine the sensation of the soil between your fingers. It is cool and moist. This is the time for manual labor labora. You are tending to the rosemary, the sage, and the lavender. You trim the herbs with a small iron blade, the scent of crushed greens rising to meet you in the morning mist. Each movement is a meditation. There is no pressure to finish, only the requirement to be present in the task. The sun climbs higher, warming the stones of the monastery walls, and you hear the distant hum of bees visiting the blossoms. At midday, the bell rings for sext. You wash your hands in the stone lavarium, the water cold and clear, splashing softly into the basin. Dinner is taken in the refectory in absolute silence. As you eat your simple portion of bread and vegetable pottage, a lone brother stands at a wooden lectern, reading from a heavy manuscript. His voice is steady and melodic, providing a backdrop of thought to the rhythmic clinking of wooden spoons against ceramic bowls. You do not need to speak. You only need to listen, to chew, and to be. The afternoon brings you to the scriptorium, the room of writing. Here, the air is still and smells of parchment and oak gall ink. You sit at a slanted desk. The only sound is the minute rhythmic scratching of a quill across a prepared animal skin. It is a slow, exacting process. You watch the ink flow from the tip of the feather, forming perfect, uniform letters. Time seems to stretch, An entire afternoon might be spent on a single paragraph. There is no rush. There is only the pursuit of perfection in the quiet of the room. As the sun begins to set, casting long, amber bars of light across the cloister, the bell calls you to vespers. The day is winding down. The shadows return to the corners of the abbey. After a light supper and the final prayers of Compline, the great silence descends once more. You return to your dormitory. The wool blankets are heavy and warm. As you close your eyes, you know that in a few short hours, the bell will ring again, and the cycle predictable, steady, and eternal will begin anew. Now, let us leave the cool, shadowed halls of the monastery and step out into the vast, open countryside of late medieval England. The year is 1381, and it is a summer of unusual, heavy heat. The air over the fields of Kent and Essex is thick and still, shimmering with a golden haze. Imagine yourself as a traveller sitting on a low stone wall at the edge of a dusty road. In the distance, you hear a sound, not the sharp clatter of a cavalry charge, but a low, rhythmic thrumming. It is the sound of thousands of boots and rough leather shoes striking the dry earth in unison. This is the Great Rising. As the column of people moves past you, you see they are not soldiers. They are the people of the land ploughmen, weavers, and village blacksmiths. They move with a deliberate, slow-footed determination. There is a specific scent to this movement. The smell of sun-warmed wool, the dry, earthy dust of the road, and the faint, sweet aroma of maturing wheat from the surrounding fields. Imagine the atmosphere of their trek. It is not one of chaos, but of a strange, focused quiet. They carry the tools of their lives, scythes, longbows, and heavy wooden staves. The sun beats down on their shoulders, and as they walk, the only sounds are the occasional low murmur of a voice sharing a story, and the steady, hypnotic thud-thud of their footsteps. They are walking toward London, seeking a word with their young king. The journey takes days. At night, they camp in the open meadows. Picture the scene. Hundreds of small, flickering campfires dotting the darkness like fallen stars. The air cools and the smell of wood smoke mixes with the evening dew. There is a sense of communal waiting, a shared breath held in the silence of the night. You feel the weight of their hope, a heavy, quiet thing that settles over the landscape. Finally, the towers of London appear on the horizon, shimmering like a mirage in the heat. The city is a dense thicket of timber-framed houses and over 100 church spires. You follow the crowd as they approach the gates. The transition from the open fields to the narrow city streets is jarring. The air becomes cooler in the shadows of the tall buildings, smelling of the tidal Thames, roasted meats, and the damp straw of the marketplaces. The climax of this journey takes place at a wide open space called Smithfield, just outside the city walls. Imagine the morning of June 15th. The sun is low, casting long, dramatic shadows across the grass. On one side stands the mass of the people, thousands of them, standing in a vast, silent block. On the other, a small, brightly coloured group of horsemen. The 14-year-old King Richard II and his advisors. The tension here is not loud. It is a heavy, vibrating stillness. You can hear the distant cry of a hawk circling above, and the soft jingle of the horses' silver bridles. The air is perfectly still. The young king sits atop a white horse, his velvet robes a stark contrast to the dusty tunics of the crowd. The leaders meet in the middle, their voices low and indistinct. You watch the interplay of power, the quiet dignity of the peasants and the nervous, polished stillness of the court. There is no grand battle here, only a series of hushed negotiations under the vast blue sky. When the meeting concludes, a strange calm descends. The promises are made, the charters are signed, and the great mass of people begins to dissolve. Imagine the walk back. The heat of the summer has peaked. The roads are just as dusty, but the rhythm of the footsteps is different now, lighter, slower, the sound of people returning to the familiar cycles of their villages. The great event passes back into the silence of the fields, leaving only the memory of a summer when the world stood still to listen to the voices of the humble. Now, let us move away from the noise of the city and the heat of the road, stepping through a heavy oak door into the cool, shaded sanctuary of the apothecary's shop. As the door closes behind you, the sounds of the outside world, the barking of dogs, the clatter of carts are muffled, replaced by a profound aromatic silence. The air in this room is heavy and complex. It is a thick tapestry of scents. The sharp, medicinal sting of dried peppermint, the earthy sweetness of licorice root, and the faint, dusty smell of pulverized minerals. To your left, a small window allows a single beam of afternoon light to pierce the gloom. In this light, you can see tiny dust motes dancing in a slow, hypnotic circle, as if they too are under the spell of the room's stillness. Imagine the walls of this shop. They are lined from floor to ceiling with hundreds of small wooden drawers and glazed ceramic jars, known as albarellos. Each jar is painted with delicate blue cobalt patterns, and each drawer bears a hand-lettered label in flowing script. There is a quiet order here, a sense that for every ailment, the earth has provided a specific, measured response. You watch as the apothecary begins the day's work. There is no haste in their movements. They reach for a bundle of lavender that has been hanging from the rafters. You hear the dry, paper-like whisper of the stalks as they are taken down. The purple flowers are brittle now, their fragrance concentrated and sleepy. One by one, the flowers are stripped from the stems, falling into a heavy stone mortar with a soft, rhythmic hiss. Then, the grinding begins. Listen to the sound of the pestle's steady, circular tink-tink scrape. It is a mechanical grounding noise. The apothecary's hand moves in a constant, unwavering loop. Slowly, the brittle flowers are transformed into a fine, fragrant violet dust. This powder will soon be mixed with warmed beeswax to create a salve, a soothing balm to be rubbed onto the temples of someone struggling with a headache or the restlessness of a long night. Next, the apothecary turns to a tray of mandrake roots. In the folklore of the time, these roots were said to scream when pulled from the earth, but here, in the quiet of the shop, they are simply silent, twisted shapes that smell of deep soil. They are sliced with a small, silver knife skrit into thin, translucent discs to be steeped in wine. You see the steam rising from a small copper pot on a low fire, the bubbles breaking on the surface with a lazy, liquid sound. There is a deep, rhythmic nature to this work. The measuring of honey, the folding of linen bandages, the slow dripping of a tincture through a cone of wool. It is a science of patience. You imagine yourself sitting on a stool in the corner, your head leaning against the cool stone wall. You watch the rhythmic stirring of a wooden spoon in a ceramic bowl. The movement is so steady, so predictable that your eyes begin to feel heavy. In this space, healing is not a frantic intervention, but a slow alignment with nature. The apothecary's shop is a bridge between the wild energy of the forest and the quiet needs of the human body. As the light in the window begins to fade, shifting from gold to a deep, bruised purple, the apothecary places a final lid on a jar of rosewater. The thump of the lid is soft and final. The day's work is preserved in glass and clay, waiting in the silence to bring comfort to the weary. From the herbal scents of the apothecary, we move back through the quiet cloisters to a room bathed in the soft, steady light of the north. This is the scriptorium. Here, the passage of time is measured not in hours, but in the slow, meticulous completion of a single page. Imagine yourself sitting at a high, slanted wooden desk. Before you lies a sheet of vellum. It is not like the paper, you know. It is heavy, ivory-coloured, and has a slight, velvety texture. As you run your fingers across it, you feel its coolness and the incredible strength of the stretched calfskin. The room is silent, save for the rhythmic, distant scratching of quills and the soft, heavy sigh of a turning page. The creation of a manuscript begins with the preparation of color. On a small stone slab beside you, there is a pile of deep blue stones, lapis lazuli, brought by caravan from the far-off mountains of Afghanistan. You take a heavy glass muller and begin to grind the stone. Listen to the sound. A low, gritting crunch smooth. You rotate the glass in a steady, circular motion. Slowly, the hard stones surrender, turning into a dust so fine it feels like silk. When you mix this powder with a drop of clear spring water and a bind of egg white, it becomes ultramarine, a blue so deep and vibrant it seems to hold the very essence of the evening sky. Next comes the gold. To make the word of the text truly shine, you apply gold leaf. This is metal beaten so thin that a single breath could send it fluttering away like a butterfly. You apply a base of gesso, a mixture of plaster and glue, and then you wait. When the gesso is just tacky enough, you pick up a tiny square of gold with a brush made of squirrel hair. You lay the gold down, and using a smooth dog's tooth or a piece of polished agate, you burnish it. Swish, swish. Under your hand, the dull yellow metal begins to wake up, turning into a mirror-bright surface that catches the flickering light of a nearby candle. But the beauty of the medieval book is not just in its grandeur, it is also in its whimsy. As you move your eyes from the sacred text in the center of the page to the wide white margins, you find the marginalia. Here, the monk's imagination was allowed to wander. In the borders of this serious holy book, you see a tiny, exquisitely painted rabbit wearing a knight's helmet. A few inches away, a snail is depicted in a fierce battle with a tiny man. There are vines that twist into the shapes of dragons, and birds with the faces of cats. These drolleries are a reminder of the human hand behind the work, a quiet, playful rebellion against the strictness of the task. As you sit in the deepening twilight, you look at the page you have worked on all day. The blue is rich and calming, the gold glows with an inner warmth, and the tiny, nonsensical creatures in the margins seem to dance in the shadows. You close the heavy oak covers of the book, the brass clasps clicking shut with a soft metallic thud. The knowledge of the world is safe here, held in the silence of the ink, and the enduring strength of the skin, waiting for someone to wake it again in the morning light. Leave behind the small, intimate scale of the scriptorium and the apothecary. We are moving toward a site of immense, slow-motion creation. Imagine standing at the foot of a rising Gothic cathedral. This is a project that will not be finished in your lifetime, nor your children's. It is an act of faith measured in centuries. The air here is different. It is thick with the scent of pulverized limestone, a dry, alkaline smell that coats the back of the throat. There is a constant, fine white dust that settles on everything. The wooden scaffolding, the heavy ropes, and the rough woolen clothes of the workers. Listen to the sound of the site. It is not the roar of modern machinery, but a rhythmic, melodic chorus of hand tools. From high above on the scaffolding you hear the tink, tink, tink of 100 small iron hammers meeting stone chisels. It is a percussive lullaby. Each strike removes only a tiny flake of rock, a minuscule step toward a grand design. Imagine the master mason standing at a large, flat plaster floor, the tracing floor. He holds a heavy iron compass and a long wooden rule. With a slow, steady hand, he carves the geometry of a rose window into the plaster. There is a deep mathematical peace in these shapes. Circles overlap circles. Arcs find their perfect partners. This is the divine geometry, the silent language of the stone. You watch as a massive block of limestone is hoisted by a great wooden treadwheel. Two men walk inside the wheel, their steps slow and heavy, like a heartbeat. The wheel creaks a low, rhythmic groan of strained timber, and the stone rises inch by inch. There is no hurry. Gravity is respected. and the rhythm of the wheel is the rhythm of the day. Now, imagine stepping inside the finished portion of the nave. The transition from the dusty, bright exterior to the cool, dim interior is like stepping underwater. The air is still and smells of old incense and cold, damp stone. The silence here is not empty. It is a heavy, echoing presence that seems to press gently against your ears. You look up. High above, the pointed arches meet in the darkness of the vaulting. They look like the branches of a stone forest. And then, there is the light. Imagine the stained glass. In the medieval world, where most colors were the browns and greens of the earth, this glass is a miracle. It is deep ruby red, cobalt blue, and emerald green. As the sun moves outside, the light passes through the glass, casting long colored shadows across the grey stone floor. You watch a pool of sapphire light move slowly, so slowly across the tomb of a forgotten knight. In this space, time feels suspended. The cathedral is a mountain of stone that has been taught to breathe and hold light. You find a seat on a stone bench, leaning your head against a pillar that took 40 years to carve. The stone is cold, but it is solid. It is a permanent anchor in a changing world. As the shadows lengthen and the clink of the hammers outside finally ceases for the day, the cathedral settles into a deep, hollow quiet, holding the prayers and the labor of generations in its silent, soaring arms. We leave the cold, echoing height of the cathedral and move toward a space of warmth, color, and hushed conversation. We are entering the solar, the private, sun-drenched chambers of the Palace of Poitiers. It is the 12th century, and we are in the presence of Eleanor of Aquitaine, a woman whose influence stretches across empires, but whose court is defined by a quiet, refined sophistication. As you step into the room, the first thing you notice is the sound. It is a soft, delicate layering of noises. You hear the gentle thrum-thrum of a lute, the strings plucked with practiced ease by a traveling troubadour. You hear the rustle of heavy silk and fine linen as ladies-in-waiting move across the floor. There is no clatter here. The floor is covered in thick, woven rushes and sweet-smelling herbs, lavender and meadowsweet, that release a faint, calming fragrance every time someone takes a step. Imagine the warmth of this room. Unlike the damp stone of the castle's lower halls, the solar is heated by a large, ornate fireplace. The logs are applewood, burning with a low, steady flame that smells of autumn. The walls are not bare stone. They are draped in massive tapestries. You look closely at the threads, thousands of tiny stitches of wool and silk depicting scenes of forests, unicorns, and distant gardens. They act as a soft insulation, keeping the world at bay and turning the room into a quiet, padded sanctuary. You see Eleanor herself, seated in a high-backed chair carved from dark walnut. She is a figure of focused stillness. Her dress is a deep, rich crimson, dyed with expensive kermes, and her veil is held in place by a thin circlet of gold. She is listening to a poet. The troubadour speaks in the Occitan language, a melodic, flowing tongue that sounds like music even without the lute. He is speaking of fin amour, or courtly love. This is the heart of Eleanor's court. It is a social code based on patience, service, and refined manners. It is the opposite of the rough world of the battlefield. Here, power is exercised through the courts of love, where complex questions of etiquette and emotion are debated with the same precision a scholar might use for theology. Imagine the sensory details of a small afternoon feast. A servant brings a silver tray. There are small cakes sweetened with honey and scented with rosewater. There are pears poached in spiced wine, and the steam carries the scent of cinnamon and cloves rare, precious spices brought from the east. You watch the light from the tall, narrow windows catch the edge of a crystal goblet. The wine is a pale, clear gold. Everything is measured. Everything is graceful. In this court, politics are conducted in whispers. You observe two advisors leaning close to one another in a window nook. Their voices are a low, rhythmic murmur. indistinguishable from the crackle of the fire. They are discussing the movement of troops or the marriage of a princess, but they do so with a calm, detached professionalism. In Eleanor's world, the mind is the sharpest tool, and it is kept keen through the study of poetry, music, and the subtle art of conversation. As the sun begins to dip below the horizon, the room takes on a golden, honey-like glow. The troubadour plays a final, slow chord that hangs in the air for a long moment before fading. The ladies begin to fold their embroidery, the needles clicking softly against silver thimbles. The courts of love have adjourned for the day. You feel a sense of profound order and aesthetic peace. The world outside may be unpredictable, but here, within the velvet-lined silence of the Queen's chambers, life is a slow, beautiful and deliberate dance. Our journey through the medieval world now brings us back to the earth, to the low, thatched eaves of a village nestled in a valley. The sun has finally dipped below the horizon, and the long blue shadows of twilight are stretching across the communal fields, the commons. Imagine walking down a narrow dirt path, the ground packed hard by generations of footsteps. You are heading toward the light. At the edge of the village stands the tavern, or perhaps simply a house marked by an ale stake, a long pole with a bunch of greenery tied to the end, signaling that a fresh batch of ale has been brewed. As you push open the heavy timber door, you are met by a wave of thick, comforting warmth. The air inside is a dense mixture of smells. The sweet, cereal aroma of malted grain, the sharp tang of wood smoke, and the earthy scent of damp wool drying near the fire. The ceiling is low, supported by massive, soot-darkened oak beams that have stood for centuries. The heart of this room is the hearth. It is a wide stone fireplace where a great iron cauldron hangs from a blackened chain. Inside, a thick vegetable pottage simmers, the bubbles breaking slowly with a heavy, liquid plop. You hear the steady, rhythmic snap and pop of the burning logs, a sound that has provided the background music to human rest since time began. Imagine the people here. This is the end of the agricultural day. They sit on simple wooden benches, their bodies heavy with the good tiredness that comes from physical labor. They are not talking loudly. The conversation is a low, rolling murmur, a gentle sea of voices discussing the things that truly matter. The health of the oxen, the coming rain, the thickness of the grain. You watch the alewife as she moves among the tables. She carries a large wooden pitcher, pouring the small beer, the light, nutritious ale that was the staple of every medieval diet. Listen to the sound of the liquid hitting the bottom of a leather tankard, a hollow, splashing gurgle. The tankards themselves are made of wood or boiled leather, warm to the touch and worn smooth by thousands of hands. In the corner, an old man is slowly mending a fishing net. His fingers move with a hypnotic, repetitive grace loop. Pull, knot. Loop, pull, knot. Nearby, a woman is spinning wool using a drop spindle. You watch the wooden weight spin and fall, drawing out the soft fibers into a continuous, rhythmic thread. This is the pace of the village, productive but unhurried, tied to the steady pulse of the seasons. Outside the window, the commons are now silent. The cattle are in their stalls, the ploughs are stilled, and the earth is resting. There is a profound sense of safety in this shared existence. The village is a single organism, breathing together in the dark. As the fire in the tavern hearth begins to crumble into glowing red embers, the voices grow even softer. One by one, the villagers rise, their shadows dancing briefly on the walls before they step out into the cool night air to find their own beds. You feel the deep, heavy peace of the land settling over you, a blanket of silence that covers everything from the highest cathedral spire to the smallest blade of grass in the field. We have travelled far tonight. We have stood in the freezing midnight air of the Benedictine cloister and felt the sun-drenched silence of Eleanor's court. We have watched the slow grind of the Apothecary Espessel and the rhythmic scratch of the monka's quill. We have seen a world that moved slowly, a world that understood the value of repetition and the beauty of the deliberate act. Now, it is time to return to the present. Imagine those historical scenes, the golden manuscripts, the soaring arches, the flickering tavern fires, all beginning to soften at the edges. They are like reflections in a pool of water that is slowly becoming still. The colors are fading into a soft, hazy gray. The sounds of the past, the tolling bells, the clinking hammers, the chanting voices are drifting further and further away, until they are nothing more than a faint hum, like the wind in distant trees. You are back in your own space now. You are safe. You are warm. The world around you is quiet, and the heavy, velvet darkness of the night is a protective cloak. The history we have explored is a long, winding road that has led directly to this moment of stillness. Feel the weight of your body as it rests. Your journey is over for tonight. The past is a dream, and the future is a long way off. There is only now the slow, steady rhythm of your breath and the profound comfort of the silence. Let the last of the images dissolve. Let the mind wander into the shadows where the stories end. Sleep is the final destination of every journey, the quiet harbor after the long sail. Rest now in the enduring peace of the night. Good night.